think that's where a lot of people go bad with a pup. They throw them in a pen and just throw feed to them every day. And to me, you got to make a connection with them. Some guys don't agree with me on that, but I think you got to have a good bond with a dog.
It's real simple, I think, with a pup, and a lot of people don't understand it. When a pup is ready to start, it will start. You can't force a pup to start, and you can't force a pup to treat. It has to do it on its own.
Welcome to the Stark Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Clayton Stark, and today's podcast episode is actually episode 7. And earlier last week, I went and got together with Burchel Davis. He had a nice 10-month-old young dog that was starting to tree. He wanted me to hunt, so I'll be hunting that dog for him and just keeping Burchel updated on what's going on. He's already treed quite a bit of coon with him, but Frogger's been such a good reproducer. He keeps Burchel and a lot of good young dogs, so he doesn't have time to hunt them all, and I was actually lucky enough to get my hands on one to take it hunting. And while I went down there to pick up that dog, we decided to sit down and do a podcast for you guys. But before we get into the interview, don't forget I'm having my Christmas special that debuts on Christmas Day. And if you want to be featured in that video with your family Christmas card or picture of you and your family and your kids in the outdoors doing what we all love, make sure you get those sent my way because time's running out. It'll be Christmas before you know it. I've already got tons and tons of people submitted pictures to me, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you all. And one last thing before we get into the interview, I'd like to thank my sponsors. I'd like to thank Big Dog Lights, and remember, if you're going to be getting a Big Dog light from Big Dog, you can use code STARK10 to save some money with your purchase. I also want to thank Dogtra. If you're going to get a new Dogtra Pathfinder tracking system, you can use code STARK5 to save some money. I'd also like to thank Gun Dog House Doors. I'd also like to thank Conkey's Hound Hunting Supply. I'd also like to thank Coon Dog Wear, John Stever and Lonesome Blue Kennels, Bill Schiniger of Saddle Up Plots and Saddle Up Cryo. I'd like to thank Burchel Davis with AKC World Champion, Platinum Champion, Grand Night Champion, Davis's Rosedale Frogger. I'd like to thank Bayou Legacy Game Calls with the Tree Shaker Coon Squaller. I'd like to thank Ringtails and Tall Tails Hunting Dog Supply and Taxidermy. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my YouTube channel. Just type in Clayton Stark or Stark Outdoors, and it should bring it up. And if you like this content and my videos on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and also hit the notification bell to be notified when new videos are posted. You can also find me on Facebook, Clayton Stark, Stark Outdoors. You can like that page to see all the latest news, announcements, and photos and videos and all sorts of great stuff out there. You can also find me on Instagram at Stark_Outdoors. And if you use TikTok, you can also find me on there at Stark_Outdoors. And don't forget, if you want to see behind the scenes footage, live action as I'm making these videos, and also early access to the podcast, as well as make requests for video or podcast ideas, check out my Patreon page. You can download the Patreon app or just go on the internet and go to patreon.com/starkoutdoors, and you can become a subscriber on there as well and get exclusive access to stuff. And I'm pretty active on there. I post almost every single day and try and interact with all of you as much as possible. So if you want to help support the channel and what I do and helping our sport grow, make sure you check that out as well. Now I won't hold you guys up any longer, and we'll get into this interview here. I'm sitting here with Burchel Davis, and as many of you know, he's the guy that owns Frogger, and I'm stopping down his place today. He lives pretty close to me. I'm picking up a young dog from him, so I figured I'd just record a little podcast for you guys. That if you're not familiar with this dog, make sure you go to my YouTube channel and look up Frogger, and he also has a Facebook page. It's Davis's Rosedale Frogger, and he's done a lot of winning, and chances are, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard of him, but there might be some new people out there that will get exposed to him for the first time, so I just want to put that out there. But how are you doing today, Burchel?
Doing good, Clayton.
So how did you get to own Frogger?
My son owned Frogger's mother, and we were in the process of training her. She was about a year old. He was in a car accident, and I kind of put a halt to our coon hunting for a while. So actually I sold her to Steve Burkholder, and later on down the road we ended up getting her back from him. And my good friends Mark McGinn and his son Little Mark took her and made her a UKC night champion and a PKC champion for us. And about that time, Fred Bodenberg lost both of his females, and he didn't have anything. So we decided it'd be best if she went back to Fred.
Yeah.
And at that time, I told Fred, if you ever breed her, because she was one of them that was, well, she's been bred, I think, 4 times, has 8 pups on the ground. Just had a hard time getting pups out of her. I said, if you get pups out of her, someday I'd like to have one.
Yeah. So
Fred came to my youngest daughter's graduation party, and we got to talking, and he said he had a litter of pups over there out of her. She had 4, raised 3 of them. And Kurt Seibert was getting a female, and Fred was keeping a female, and there was a male that Rob Fry and Kenny Boughton was supposed to get for a stud fee. And I said, boy, I'd sure like to have that male. And he said, let me make a phone call, and those guys said, sure, So he came here, and
so you had him since he was a puppy. How did you go about raising him and training him?
We just left him run loose. He was just like a yard dog. He spent a lot of time on the porch with us, just kind of the companion. We spoiled him to death, and he didn't really have a doghouse or nothing. He slept on the lawnmower seat, and then he started treeing cats. I never fooled with him. Never put no hangs up or anything like that for him. I just let him run loose. He started treeing cats, and decided it was time to put him in a pen. And on his 6-month birthday, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to walk that little devil out back and see what he'll do. And he went in there and treated a coon like an old dog. I thought, uh-oh, we got something here.
Did he sound like that pup you got right now?
He sounded pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yep.
I imagined he probably did.
Yep. He run a track, kind of made a circle back here through the woods and come in, and 3 big old long locates, flipped it over. And, a lot of pups, they first start treeing, you about got to run to them. You didn't have to run to him. Yeah. He was there, had the coon, just went to hunting him.
Do you remember what time of year that was?
It would have been in October.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, he was born April the 12th, 2018. So it would have been October the 12th.
That's good timing then for a pup.
Yep. And I just took it easy on him, night or 2 a week. I'd never seen nothing like it. I had a lot of pups start early, but not solid like him.
So he came on in October, you said. If for people out there that don't live kind of in this region, they might not know how bad the weather gets in December and January and February and sometimes March.
Yep.
It goes 3 or 4 months where there's a lot of coon here, but it's hard getting tracks and usually snow and ice, and they're denned up. So what did you do with him? Did you keep hunting him when the weather was bad, or how did you go about
No,
that?
I put him up. To be honest with you, he was treeing coon, and he was nothing like I'd seen before. And when the coon shut down, a lot of people don't understand around here, we got a lot of coon, but it don't take anything for these coon to quit moving. And when they quit moving, he decided he'd like to run some junk. And I thought, rather than breaking him, I don't hardly break one off of junk. I don't want to take the fire out of him. I just put him away.
Yeah.
Got him back out when the coon were moving, and we started to roll again.
That's a really good point you make, because I think a lot of people, a lot of the problems they have with dogs, it's more of what they're doing with the dog that kind of puts them, they're not intentionally doing it, but the situations they put them in kind of increases the odds of them doing something wrong.
Yep.
And it just leads to problems and headaches.
When you got a natural like him, a lot of people just can't help themselves. They gotta show him to everybody. They gotta hunt him every night, and that's the worst thing you can do. I feel you gotta take them slow, keep that fire burning in them. It's hard to.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I know what you mean. I'd be hunting one like that about every night. Yeah, it'd be hard to leave it sit in the pen.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do, especially like we said with the time of year it was. That plays a huge factor into it. So then, when did you start hunting him again? Oh,
I'd hunt him here and there, but it was April before I really got in on him and started hunting him hard.
That's a really good time of year for pups.
Yeah, he was about, I guess he would have been, it might have been March. It might have been March, because I don't think he was quite a year old. He split treed one night. I had another male dog off of Stylish Gatorade semen and Frog's mother. And he went in there and treated a coon. That old Frog was off running junk. And he come swinging by us. And I said, get out of here. And next thing you know, he was 450 in there treed and had a coon. And I went in and took care of business there, and then went back to just hunting him alone, and pretty much hunted him all summer alone. It must have been, we were at the Ohio State Fair. My daughter was showing pigs, so it had to be the end of July. We were down there, and my good friend Josh Johnson called, and he said, hey, why don't you let me take that pup and try to get his 101 while you're gone? And I said, nah. I was pretty protective over him, and I got thinking about it, and I thought, I might as well let him go do it. And they put him in 2 double headers, and he won 3 out of 4 rounds. And that was the only hunts that I had him in. And I think I might have put him in a UKC hunt right before the Super Stakes, just to kind of see where I stood, and I won that with him. And then took him down there to been in September, the fall Super Stakes, and I don't know how I did it, but I doubled him up the first night. Had to be a miracle for me to win. And yeah, we didn't do any good after that. I come home, pleasure hunted him a couple nights, and felt really good about it. He was looking good, and I think when I left out there, they'd got a rain, and it was just perfect. When I got back, it was about 90 degrees, and it was like a desert out there that night. And I knew I didn't have a good feeling. Yeah, got beat early Friday night and came back home.
Did you hunt him much with other dogs before that?
Some. These whitey bred dogs, you got to put them down with stuff, and you got to do some work, because they tend to pout up on you. If a dog trees a coon in front of them, we like to call it, they like to circle the campfire. They don't want a tree in there, but they don't want to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I had to work on him a little bit there. Didn't take much for him. And, when he started off, he was an outstanding strike dog. You couldn't get a strike on him. And when we started running the hunts, he figured out that if he kept his mouth shut, nothing would follow him around. So he went from a 100 strike dog to a 50 or a 25 strike dog, just because he's sneaky, you know. But yeah, I hunted him a fair bit, but probably 80%.
So then you said after the Super Stakes, you brought him home, pleasure hunted him. Where did you kind of go from there?
Well, me and Eric Pyatt, I'd known Eric before. I didn't really know him real well, but I'd guided him out of Defiance for the pro hunts and stuff that we used to have there, and back when he was hunting Homer. And we talked out the Super Stakes, and we talked, and when I got home, Eric was on his way home from the Super Stakes, and he called, and we just got talking. He says, what do you think about me taking and hunting that dog at the World Hunt? And I said, Lord of mercy. I said, he ain't enough dog to go out there. And he said, I've heard he's a pretty good young dog, And I said, well, if you want to hunt him, I said, that's fine. I said, but I know the caliber of dog you've always been packing. I said, I don't know if I got what you're looking for. And he said, well, let's try it. So I sent him, I think we had 3 weeks for the World Hunt. I sent him out there, or down there to him. And he called me after a week of hunting him. He said, man, I can see why this dog is a winner. He said, he's solid. And that's just kind of where it went. He took him to the World Hunt, never did double him up. He won 2 early rounds. For his age, I think he was 17. I think he just turned 18 months old. And for his age, he was right there knocking on the door. And Eric called me on the way home the World Hunt. He said, well, what's your plans now? I said, I'm just going to hunt him. And he said, would you leave him with me and let me hunt him? And I said, well, do you think he's good enough? And he said, he absolutely is good enough. So So that's what we did.
And then what age did he win the World Hunt?
Well, it would have been a year ago,
So I guess
October.
how
so
long
he'd been
did
3.
Eric? So he'd be 3. How long did Eric have him before that?
He kept him that winter and pretty much all through the next year there. The only time I really brought him home was to collect him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he won that first year he hunted him. He won 13 or 14,000 with him, just piddling around him. We didn't really hunt a lot of the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that next winter he came home and I hunted him that winter. Then I sent him back to him, and then that's when he made a good run at the Nationals and went on and shoot, I don't know, he won, I think he won 40 or 50,000 that year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember for sure, but it had to be somewhere in there. Because this year we didn't do much. I was wanting to back off and look at retiring him, which it was a hard decision. But the dog's got a lot of winning left in him. You've seen that. There ain't no change in him. He's still got the heart and the desire and the ability. But so many of these good ones are getting killed, and I don't want to take that chance with him.
Yeah. I mean, he's already won a lot of money and a lot of big hunts, and he's starting to show that he's reproducing. So I mean, if you were unsure of his ability to reproduce, that might be different. You might want to hunt him more, but now that you're starting to see young dogs out of him do so well, you really want to play it safe. And
it's hard. It's hard because he's. I got some pretty nice young dogs out of him. I don't know if they'll make what he did. He might be a once-in-a-lifetimer. He's definitely the best I've owned today. It's hard to retire him when they're like that, but at the same time, it's hard. The way these hunts are, it don't matter. You pull that dog off a tree, you got a minute to walk it and recut it, and man, they could cross. He's crossed a lot of roads in these hunts and stuff, and he's been lucky. And I don't know. Maybe I made the wrong choice. I've got semen put up on him and stuff, but
it's not like you've just won a couple. Like you've seen what he can do.
Yeah. And
you're doing good by the dog because he's getting his name out there and he still gets to hunt. And he's like I said, he's starting to show that he's reproducing some good dogs. And we'll get into more of his pups in a little bit, but so that's kind of what you're doing with him now. You still hunt him some, don't you?
Yep. I about got him run over one night. It was about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning on a gravel road, and he was running a track out in the bean field. I said, that's it. I ain't hunting him no more. Well, that lasted a week or two, and I said, I just got to turn him loose. So I try to hunt him once a week. He's not hunted up, but once a week he gets out. Yeah. And he's still tree and coon.
Yeah. Yeah, for not being hunted up, when I watched him go, he still looks like the fastest dog. Yeah. Like when you unsnap him, he just glides across the ground. Yeah. He's one of the fastest dogs I've seen go. That's
why the dog wins. He's a hustler.
Yeah, he is.
He's not a blow through the country, go a mile and a half, 2 miles. When you turn him loose, he out hustles everything, and he trees coons where you put him, and that's what I like where we're at here. We got a lot of 15, 20 acre woods, and you got to have them tree coon where you put them.
Yeah. I've noticed that too, and that's what I wish people understood the difference between a dog that'll blow through the country. Like that, just because a dog doesn't blow through the country doesn't mean it's not going to get treed with a coon quickly. Yeah. Because that's when I've hunted with them at least 3 times now, and I haven't seen him miss. And every time you unsnap him, he is sprinting 100% the entire time until he gets treed.
Yeah, that's kind of, in my opinion, that's what sets him apart from a lot of them. He's got more heart and drive than anything you ever see. And
with brains too, because there's a lot of them that have a lot of heart and drive that don't start hunting until they're a mile away, and they're focused more on other dogs and then treeing a coon versus turning them loose. And to me, he's just looking to get treed. Yeah, like he's looking to find a coon as quickly as possible, and that's my favorite type of dog to hunt because.
And some people think that he's probably a hot-nosed ambush style dog because he's always got a coon, but that ain't the case. He can tree any kind of coon there is, and I mean, he'll bush one if he can, but he'll get down and grub one out and tree it too.
Yeah, because when I've hunted with him, once in November, once in December, and then once in January in northern Ohio, where 2 of those 3 times there's ice and snow on the ground, and he's still treeing coon. So it's not like he's just, like you said, ambushing them. He's got a good nose too.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's what I like, the perfect dog for what I
don't want
like.
I don't want a dog goes out there and strikes a week old track and blue ticks around. I won't hunt a dog like that, but I won't hunt an ambusher either.
Right.
I want one to tree coon where I put it. And the other thing I really like about him is he don't just make up a tree. Mm-hmm. Some of these dogs, you cut them in the woods and you can pretty much look at your watch, 10 minutes. They can't find something. They're gonna tree on an old stinky den or something. And he will not do that. Yeah.
No, that's probably my favorite thing about him is he has so much heart and drive that he's going to find a coon.
Yeah.
He's not gonna worry about everything else. Like, he's just a one-track mind.
Yep. And Eric put such a good handle on him. That's what I love. I don't care if I send him up in a place and like I said, he ain't going to just go in there and tree on an old den. He goes out the backside, and I don't want him crossing that road. I drive around there. Frog, come on.
Yeah.
He drops. He'll be staying at your feet.
Yeah.
And I won't take any credit for that. Eric did that.
That makes it, pleasure hunting, it doesn't matter. I think that makes a big difference just in the dog's life in general, because then it makes your job so much easier. So then you're more focused on what the dog needs versus just trying to catch him.
Yep.
There's a lot of dogs out there that they will go and they run really fast, but then they're just impossible to catch unless they're treed, which then that goes back to some of them just make up trees.
Yeah. Because
of that. When did you first start breeding him?
When he was just shy of 12 months old. I don't know. I guess I knew what I had. So I took him to Dean Bitzel and I collected him. And I took him back to collect him again. And I had a female we called Girl Scout. She was off a stylish tank and a Rock River cord female on the bottom. She was a real coon dog. And she was in heat, so when I took him back to collect him the next time, I had Dean just go ahead and AI her while we were there. And that was his first litter. 3 pups. She had 3 pups. One's the farmer dog that I had. One's the fancy dog that Shaq McCullough owns, and Taylor Jones hunts for him. Farmer's now owned by Chris Hardiman. I think, I'm not sure if the dog's in Tennessee, I believe. Then the other one, we called her Flirt. I heard she was in Tennessee too. Now she was a little different type of dog than the other 2. Farmer I kept as a pup, and he started, I think he was 6.5 months old. He split tree from his mom, and he was slicker than a whistle. Didn't have a thing. She was sitting over there with the coon. And couple, I don't know. He made a few more trees like that. It was basically jealous treeing. And I thought, why am I wasting my time hunting with her? So I just took him out by himself. Matter of fact, Dwayne Karras and Fred Bodenberg, they called one night to see if I was hunting. It was about midnight, and I'd come home, and I'd switch dogs out. And I said, I said, all I got's a 6-month-old pup with me right now. So they told me where they was at, and I went over there, and Fred was hunting Frogger's sister. And we cut them 2 up in there, and that pup went up in there and got treed on an old shagbark hickory and had a coon. And we shot that out to him, and that would have been around Christmas time. Yeah, around Christmas time. And from that night till the end of season, so it had been a little over a month, that pup treed 44 single coon. I'm not talking, he treated some dens too, but
Yeah.
he treated 44 singles.
Yeah, that's, well, like I said, where we live, if you're hunting that time of year,
Mm-hmm.
if you're treeing coon, you got a really good dog.
Yeah.
Because the tracking is hard, and they're just not out.
Yeah.
You'll make a lot of den trees.
I hunted him some with his mom and some with some other dogs, and he was split all the time, and he was just a plumb natural. I loved that pup. So I hunted him, I don't know, I guess I hunted him that next year then and sent him down the following winter, and Eric hunted him. And Fancy, friend of mine, Chris Jackman, had got her, and he'd let her run loose, and she started treeing squirrels right away. And I don't know, we ended up with her back. And another boy hunted her, and he got her really cranking. And me and Eric ended up buying her. And so Eric hunted, I brought Frog back home. Eric hunted Farmer and Fancy that winter. And they both turned out real nice. We ended up, I guess I sold Farmer to Jim Fields and Greg Lewis in Tennessee then, and we kept Fancy around, and then we ended up selling her to Shaq McCullough. I guess it had been a year ago at the World Hunt. And they went on this spring. They done a bunch of winning with her, and she was leading the state of Missouri there for quite a while. Still ended up pretty good in the standings. I think she won about 1,600 this year in open hunts. So yeah, that was his first litter. Flirt, I know she won 7,000 in a pro sport hunt.
Oh.
Alan Holding had her. And like I said, I don't know where she went now. I heard she went to Tennessee, but she was a little different style dog. Fancy and Farmer, they were dead loners. Absolutely have a coon when they treed. I don't care. When they parked, it was over, and they had a coon. Flirt, she was kind of more of a scorecard type dog. She'd split. She'd get some of yours. She was wild and crazy. She got kind of passed around as a pup.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I hunted with her a few times, and she made a pretty nice dog, just a little different style,
Yeah. It's hard telling, because you'd be able to narrow down if it was more her versus people, because if they'd been with 3 or 4 people over different states, you don't know what exactly happened.
Yeah.
Or how they were hunted, you know what I mean? There's just so many different variables, it's hard to say, but that's pretty good, though, that out of his first litter, that they all turned out to be pretty good dogs. So what all young dogs do you have off him right now?
Well, it's hard telling. I got dogs scattered all over. I got a young male dog off of him, and Scott Morris's Bushwhacking Montana female. She's directly out of Bushwhacker and Bodenberg bred on the bottom. Goes back to the Bell dog Jason Baker, and Mark Antrim's got him. I got Final Four, which would be a litter mate sister to him. That was a really good cross of dogs. There's 11 of them in that litter. Johnny Wadkins bought half of her from me. He keeps her over there in Indiana. I've got the Poker Face pup. He's off of Jay Miller's Wax Star, which she was the national champion, national leader female in PKC in 21.
Mm-hmm.
He's just turned 6 months old. I've got a male pup the same age out of Eddie Gottfried's Firefly. A good friend of mine, Jerry Lewis, he starts some pups and stuff. He's got him down there in Bainbridge, Ohio. Got the Style dog. He's off of Randy Lawson's Hillbilly's Gray Lady, which she's off of Hillbilly Deluxe. Style's a nice pup. Got a good mouth, good tree dog. He's just 10 months old. That's the one you're taking home today. I think that's it.
And that, for those of you out there that have watched that video I posted recently in my last podcast, that 6-month-old pup he's talking about out of Wax Star, that Poker Face, that's that really loud pup that I posted earlier, if you're wondering. Do Do you have any females bred and anything coming up?
Yeah, I got a night champion female out of Mojo. She's off of Mojo, and every dog on the bottom side's Wipeout. Her mother is directly out of Zeb 3. Kind of interesting to see how that'll... You know, when you're breeding these dogs, you don't know what you're going to get, but kind of curious. See, the Mojo dogs are crossing really good on Frog. The Wipeout stuff, we're going to see.
Yeah.
We're going to see if they want to run too much or if there's... I think there'll be plenty of tree there.
Yeah.
Got her bred. She's due around Christmas. Got a little female I call Babe. Me and Scott Morris from Middletown, Ohio, own her together. She is all Grand Track Rat bred. Be honest with you, I can't remember what else is in her pedigree. She's a nice female, action-packed, get in there quick. I see great things happening from that cross.
Yeah.
Could be dead wrong. Might not be worth a plug nickel, but
But you're giving yourself good odds,
Yeah.
making good. You're not just breeding everything and anything. You're.
I guess on the bottom side she's out of Wild Cards Buddy. She's got some Mojo, and yeah, that's how she's bred on the bottom side. I like that female. Good friend of mine, Brent Brown, down in Convoy, Ohio. Him and his brother had her, and Brent's brother passed away, and I ended up buying her, and she's Brent called her the vacuum sweeper. She just treated them old coon. So I don't breed any. I won't breed a female. It's just an old brood female off a pedigree, and I know it works. I know some guys do it. But when I go into it, I want to know I'm hunting something out of a nice female.
Yeah,
And I'm no breeder. You know what I mean? I leave most of that to Fred Bodenberg. He kind of tells me what he thinks crosses will make or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've listened to him a lot over the years and paid attention to what he does. But if I see a good female I think's going to cross on him, I'll buy it and make that cross. And because, you know, everybody wants to put all this focus, just like on Frog, you know, on his page and stuff. People, man, he's a reproducer, and he is. From what I'm seeing, it doesn't matter what you breed to him. He's throwing coon treers.
Mm-hmm.
But that female's got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
You can't give him all the credit. Too many people do that, you know. They think, well, that male dog, we're going to breed this. If you think you're going to take a junk female and breed to him and come up with the world's greatest, it may happen, but there's a good chance it won't. Good chance you're going to get, you know, some of your female's characteristics too. He's pretty dominant in mouth, hunt style, and having them coon in them trees. From what I see out of these pups, they're pretty darn accurate.
Have you noticed, since you've been breeding them a decent amount now, not a lot, but you're finally starting to get some females in there, have you noticed that any bloodline that crosses better than others?
Well, not really,
still early?
because, you know, like the Scott Morris's female, she's off a bushwhacker. That litter there was a lot of them pups. I really like what I see. Now, some of them, the tree's coming kind of late in them. Some of them, you know, like this Fame dog out here, Terry Shear had him treeing coons, I mean, at a young age. But Terry messes with them a lot. He's great with pups. Some of them just seemed like they was 10, 11 months old before they really wanted to look up. But when they look up, they got a coon.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't matter if they're 5 months old, 8 months old, 12 months old. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, well, the end result's what you're after. And, you know, we got, for example, my buddy Scott Morris has a young dog he calls Turbo. We got him off of John Bebout, which you know from Decatur. John bought him as a pup. John's an older fella and realized he couldn't handle him. I can't remember when we got him back. He was probably, I don't know, 11, 12 months old. Good friend of mine, Tim Sproul, went to hunting him, you know. I mean, hunted him in the ground for a month. And towards the end of the month, he finally started treeing. You know, he wanted to run junk, this and that. Now, I mean, like that first week of season, I think it was, first 19 trees he made, he had 19 coon.
Yeah.
You know, he's a strike dog, he's a track dog. Some of them just put it together later.
Yeah.
Now, my final 4 female, she started early. I mean, all these dogs will start early, you know. But some of them, the tree comes later. 4, she'd get out there, run the hair off a coon out in the corn. Drive it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, run to catch. Come in the woods, you knew when it climbed. She was done.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, you take her out daytime, she'd tree a squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of guys said, well, she's watching them go up. I said, no, she's not. I watch her trail it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I sent her to Jerry Lewis there in Bainbridge, Ohio. Eric introduced me to him. He's a real good dog man. We've become really good friends, and he's helping me out a lot with these young dogs. And Jerry had asked me if I had any pups. I said, buddy, I got one as a challenge. I said, she's a strike dog, and she can flat out drive a track. I said, but I can't get her to look up. I told him, I said, in the daytime she will, but at night. And he took her down there, and of course where he lives, there ain't a lot of coon.
Yeah.
You know, it's rough, it's hilly. Yeah, it didn't take him too long. I mean, it was in winter time. Weather was bad, and shoot, it wasn't long. She was 700-800 in there setting treed, and gosh, she made one of the better pups that I've ever hunted. I love that dog. I didn't want to sell her, but Johnny was a good guy to partner up with her because he'll put her out there. So, you know, some of them, we bred a Mojo female. She was actually a granddaughter to Mojo. She was too much tree dog, but that's why I wanted to try that. And got some really nice pups out of that. Natural tree dogs at 5-6 months old. I had a male pup here. I sold him to Terry Colder. 5 months old, he'd be sitting down the lane there on one of them big oaks tree. And I'd get him off of it and bring him back up to the house. And we'd sit on the porch and pet him. And as soon as we'd let go of him, he's back out there treed again. Had to pick him up and carry him to the kennel, you know. I mean, it just... Some of them, that tree comes to them early. Some of them, it comes later. Just, you never know when you make a cross.
One thing, I've hunted about probably a dozen pups off of him, all from different females. And I talked to you on the phone about this some, but the one thing I'm noticing, like, it doesn't matter what the bloodline of the female has been. They all have a certain look about them. They all have I don't know, I've never seen a dog put so much into, usually it's a pretty even mix, but like the dogs out of him, they all have that certain look, and they all have that certain sound.
Yep, that's 2 things he's absolutely dominating on, his looks and mouth. We've bred some females that we thought, boy, we're going to get a lot of white-faced pups and stuff, and it just don't happen. You know, and I know some guys want that. Me personally, I don't care if they're purple. I don't care what they look like. I want one that looks like a hound. Yeah. But that's way down on my priority list.
Well, that's a good point.
The color, you know.
You used to hunt English dogs too, so I mean, it's not like you've been stuck on one. Like you're out for the best coon dog is what you want.
I want ability. I want to look at coons when I walk to them trees. I don't, you know. So yeah, but as far as the mouth goes, bred a couple females that pretty sorry mouth females. They were coon dogs, but you know, they get in there 500-600. You're straining to hear them. This will be the challenge, and pups come out good mouth.
Yeah, that poker face pup. In the pictures and videos I took of him, it's hard to tell him and Frogger apart. Especially you got the same color collars on them, and they're both treeing the same. It's like he clone. It's not even just like he has pups. They some of them look like they're clones of him.
Yep, poker face. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
He might not make anything worth a quarter, but right now it's sure looking good. Yeah. Yeah, I like that pup.
Are you planning on doing any more competition hunting with any of these dogs, or you just kind of?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's your next one?
Probably come out in the spring with the Fame dog. I'd like to get his money won on him and see where we can go with him. I really like that dog. Pretty solid, big mouth on him. Good. He stays away from everything, and seems to have him coon. He's looked really good this season so far.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Shear had that pup. Put a lot of hunting on him last winter. Sold him to my good buddy Randy Lawson, and Randy, he's a logger,
Mm-hmm.
and he's working away from home a lot, and the dog was just sitting, and I'd been trying to buy him, and of course Randy likes him. He didn't want to part with him, and I finally got him away from him, so I want to take and try to push him. Johnny's going to push old Final Four, and we're going to try to, I think Final Four, we didn't do a lot with her this year. Got her money won for the Super Stakes. She come in to heat a week for the Super Stakes.
Of course.
Hunted her at the World Hunt, won a couple earlies with her. She's a winner.
Yeah.
That dog's going to win. She won about $1,000 in just a very limited hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I had the first lady dog here. Eric had put a lot of time into her. Just sold her to Gage Wood and Byron Walker. I believe his last name is Walker, out there in Iowa. I really liked that female. That's kind of the one I was going to get behind and push, but I always try to keep pups coming, and you got to sell them.
Yeah.
Eventually when you see something else coming, you just got to cut ties and make your money on them, and
it's a good problem to have if you're getting so many dogs that deserve to be hunted and they're doing well. That's what you got to do.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not giving them a fair chance.
Yep.
You're just going to sit in your pen when someone else could be out there winning with them.
Yep, that's for sure. I always try to keep a couple running loose here, and got one or two we're hunting, which I want to mention. I got Eric. He's not hunting anything right now, but he will be. Bill Federke from Evansport, Ohio, over here. Bill has done a lot for me. Bill is a coon hunter, and he don't sugarcoat things. he tells you the way it is, and I appreciate that. And then, of course, I've mentioned Jerry Lewis. Jerry's a great dog man. He called me here a couple weeks ago, and he's got the one out of Firefly. I really like that pup, and I told Jerry, I said, go ahead and take him down there, and when you tell me he's ready, when he's solid, because Jerry's one of them guys, he likes fooling with pups, and when they're solid, he gets bored.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, he'll come home here, and we'll roll on with him. But between Eric and Jerry and Bill, Scott Morris helps me out a lot. He hunts with me quite a bit, even though he lives down around Dayton. He comes up here, and without those guys, boy, it'd be tough to do anything. But that's what I keep pups around and let them run loose here, and then I try to get them started, and then I start sending them off to other places and keep something here for myself to hunt. And then my main goal is to get them in the hands of people that will promote them, because I can't,
Right.
I can take and promote one or two of them with the help of these guys, but I try to get them to places that'll put them out there.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's a good point, because a lot of people, they don't consider that, because they might have some good ones, but you've been getting a lot of really good young dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
if you give them a fair chance to get their name out there,
Yep.
that's what you got to do.
And the way I look at it, I've had guys say, well, I can't believe you sold Lady, or I can't believe you sold 4. And I feel if you got one that's reproducing, there'll be more coming.
Yeah.
If he's not doing his job, I'll run out.
Yeah.
But right now he's doing his job.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really.
I
guess that's about all I got.
That's all I can think of.
I appreciate you coming over here, and I appreciate you being a big fan of Frogger.
Yeah. It's easy to be a fan of him when he does what he does.
Well, he's not perfect. I'll tell you that right now. He can test you.
Yeah.
But he's a lot of fun. You know, people think that, well, I mean, you see I hunt poker face with him and stuff. People think, man, you got a platinum champion, grand night, world champion there. You know, they get rough on you and this and that. Them pups don't bother him none, and he don't bother them. And it's fun.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep. Well, that was a great interview, and I really enjoyed sitting down with Burchel and hearing the story of Frogger and some of his pups. I really look forward to hunting that young dog I got from him, and I also look forward to getting a puppy from him in the future as well. I hope you guys are enjoying this content, and don't forget, if you want to enter to be in my Christmas special that premieres on Christmas Day, make sure you get those photos submitted to me. That way I can put them in the video. And as always, thank you guys for your support, and I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you next time.
He ended up treeing 7/10 of a mile. Had my light on coming in, and he had another coon, so turned him loose 3 times. He had 3 coons.